Raptors are in dead last place in the entire NBA.
Nice.
And I feel like just by talking about them, I'm going to wind up on the IR.
Yes.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. You got me. That was a great line. I'm so sorry. You got me. It's good.
The Raptors are in dead last place in the entire NBA. And I feel like just by talking about them, I am going to wind up on the IR.
Me too, man. Keep swinging those elbows. Just lose fun. They're not losing fun anymore. It's sad.
That ended quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least they're losing.
It hurts. Watching the way the Bucks game went was tough. That's a tough watch.
No.
This is Basketball Island. Hein, Hambone, Wes, Fab. And yeah, like last week when we talked, the Raps were losing fun. The games were fun. We were saying it was the best case scenario. They're in close games, but they're getting the losses, which helps that draft position. But now this like Western road swing has just been ugly. And yeah, like we're taping this on a Wednesday morning, and last night's game, NBA Cup game against the Bucks, was just, it was bad, man.
Only team in the NBA not to win a road game. They were scrappy to start the year. A lot of good things. Some of the young guys like Jamal Shed, Jonathan Mobo were really like showing us some stuff. Now that's kind of faded. RJ Barrett's hot start is no longer hot.
Stop smiling about that. You're taking too much pride in RJ having a bad night.
I want to see people succeed.
No.
I want to see people succeed, but my fears with RJ were always the defensive end of the floor. There was the poor decision-making on offense, the inefficiency. That was in New York that kind of plagued them there. And then Toronto last year was really good. And we're starting to see a lot of those bad habits creep back in, unfortunately.
But he's being asked to be the number one option right now. That's not who he is. So
how dare you take that away from Gradey Dick?
You're right. But teams are loading up on him.
They are.
They've got some more tape on him now as the number one guy in Toronto with these injuries, and they're blitzing him on pick and rolls. They're taking away the net. Now, with that said, he has to play better. Yeah. But he's kind of being miscast right now.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, look, you saw some of the good defensive stuff early on. That's starting to fade away. Like the stats show and bear out that the Raptors are just allowing way too many points. But offensively now, you're starting to see a lot of teams start to figure them out. Yeah. And that's going to get really concerning. And I'm very curious to see what coach is going to do about that and whether or not he's got some other tricks up his sleeve in order to get more out of them.
Yeah. But now, I think we're kind of, when looking at the team, it's like, you can't really blame them because, and we're going to get to injuries in the whole NBA a little later in the show, but this team has been hit, other than maybe the Pelicans, who's been hit harder on injuries other than the Raptors? It's really bad for the Raptors, and how can you expect them to win when they were already a mediocre to below average team, and then they get so hurt?
They have $80 million in payroll injured right now. Like Bruce Brown hasn't played a game. Kelly Olynyk hasn't played a game. Scotty, RJ, and Quickly haven't played a game since March 1st. Like it's bad. Now, again, depending on how you view this, probably good for the future of the Raptors. Probably good for getting a draft pick.
But we want to see those guys play together.
But exactly.
Fair. You want to see them play, but look, if I'm the PR department of the Toronto Raptors and I'm trying to like sell the fan base on a lot of losses for the benefit of the future good, this is how you're supposed to do it. Injuries, we couldn't play our best guys. Sorry, it's not that they're bad. They're just not out there. This is the situation for them that technically speaking is ideal if they're really going to make a push to go get Cooper Flagg, and later on to the year, I think it's just going to make tanking a lot more palatable.
Honestly, what's the over-under on Cooper Flagg mentioned? Because I'm pretty sure we hit the under on that. That was quick. Also, to your point, if I'm Raptors PR, I'm telling Scotty Barnes, put that ugly yellow mustard sweater back. Keep that in the closet, bro.
That was the Arthur fit.
Yes.
He was having fun with it.
Yeah, he responded on Twitter.
He's having fun with it.
He was having some fun with it. To your point, though, I know it's good for the Raptors to have good lottery odds, but I do worry about the psychological damage that losing over and over and over again does to your young players. Mm-hmm. We're seeing guys like Jamal Shed, Mobo, they've faded a bit.
Fading.
Even Gradey Dick looked almost like worn out at the end of that game against the Bucks. So it's nice to get good lottery odds, but it's going to take a toll on them. To lose 50 games is not easy.
Yeah, and Wes alluded to it. Like, there's film now. Like, teams know how to scheme against these guys. Like, we were talking to Javon Shepard about that. Yep. Like, that was the first thing he mentioned was just like, you give other opposing coaches 10 games, they'll kind of figure your it out. Like, all these backdoor cuts early in the season looked really good. They were getting a lot of openings, a lot of easy looks at the rim. That's not happening anymore. And now RJ Barrett's getting blitzed many different types of ways. It's a lot to burden him with. Like, you now have to you have to be able to decipher defenses at an elite level, make sure all these young guys are in the right spots. it's hard to see this getting better right now based on what we've seen, especially the last couple games. But if you're,
it's health based though, right?
it's all health based.
Yeah.
Like it's again rough early schedule and a lot of injuries. This is a recipe to tank. And I hope that that's the direction they continue to go in.
Let's take that.
Take your medicine. Just take your medicine.
They haven't been favored in a game.
No.
They might not be favored in a game until
They got 2 Detroit games, and if they're not
they gonna be
favored,
favored?
those,
No, they
that's what I'm
won't be.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Has there ever been a team that's never been favored in a regular season? Can someone look into the math of this?
That'd be a good search.
Right?
Let's just frame the one small positive, and you referenced Javon saying there's tape. There's been tape on Gradey Dick though, and Gradey Dick, we can bring
Huge
the stat
positive.
here. Massive positive. We're seeing stats that he's in the same sentence as like LeBron and like all-time players. Obviously, we don't think he's that, but one thing I'm noticing with Gradey Dick is I love his aggressiveness.
Yeah.
He's getting the ball and he's thinking attack right off the bat, and that is what is required of him in the current iteration of this team with everybody hurt. And I love to see that aggressiveness, and he's a bright spot that we didn't think would be this good. So
And he's willing to take those shots.
Yeah.
Like right now, he's getting a lot of usage. Like they're just like, hey man, take 20 shots a game, explore the space a little bit. He's taking middies, he's taking threes, he's doing these weird floater type things. Like, and he's making a lot of mistakes. I want him to make those mistakes.
Of course,
he's 20 years old. He's 20 years old. So the usage is there. The opportunity is there. Seize it for now, but it may not come with W.
I don't know if he's going to win Most Improved Player. There's a track record you're seeing with the type of people that they anoint for that award. But in the spirit of MIP, I think from where Gradey was to start the season a year ago to where he is now, any observer looking at that is like, okay, these are 2 completely different players. And to see his growth, I think that's one of the biggest, if not the only bright spot you're seeing from the Raptors of late.
But does that usage go down when the injured guys come back?
100%.
Usage goes down, but it's the, like you said,
Significant.
it's like,
Significantly
it's the
enough to make it
type
hurt as
of
MIP
shot
guys.
making, the aggression. That stuff doesn't change just because the volumes change. The type of shots that he's making, you would never dare him to make those last season at the beginning of the year before he went to the G League.
Yeah.
In this current iteration of the Raptors with these injuries, I want it to be the Gradey Dick show. Take 20 shots, because the game against the Lakers, he didn't even take more shots than like Davion Mitchell. Like that can't happen.
Yeah.
You can't be looking off open Gradey Dick to pull up when you're a 20% 3-point shooter. Get that guy the ball. Let's let him do stuff here.
He's got
because there's no one else.
He's got 3 30-point games already this year. Like that's like he's young. Like this, like he's filling up this. Like he's filling up the basket, and he can do it in a variety of ways.
He's leading sophomores in scoring. He's averaging more points than Victor Wembanyama. And I know last year there was a little bit of like, oh, I wish we drafted Jaime Jaquez Jr. or Keontae George. Like, how do you feel about that now?
Yeah.
Would you trade Gradey Dick for either one of them?
All those people are quiet. All those people are going to be quiet right now.
Anyone
And
evaluating a
yeah.
draft after years, like a questionable person.
So
would you have taken
Pretty sure we
Jaquez last year?
evaluated the
No,
draft
well,
last
there you
year.
go. So the argument is for
How
those
could
people
you?
that jump to the conclusion, then yeah, they're probably going to be swallowing their medicine,
Yeah.
taking their medicine right now. But like you also said, you know, we're still only year 2. There are many years to go.
course.
But at this stage, yeah, those people are probably they're kind of staying nice and quiet.
And Jaime is like 25 , isn't he?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
24 years old.
He was like, yeah, 4th year senior at
Like,
UCLA.
you know,
right?
The real worry with Gradey, and we said it many times, is just can you hang defensively? Because once guys start coming
it's
back,
improved though.
it's improved, but he's still a target. He still makes a lot of mistakes. His head's not really on a swivel off ball, which is fine. Like,
His
he's young.
athleticism, I think, can carry him enough. And no second-year player is a good defender.
Exactly. He actually plays pretty big. He gets his shot off against really good defenders. It's very promising, but again, you can't judge a draft after a year, 2 years. Like you have to wait.
I said this on a previous pod, and this is my hot take. Of all the current Raptors players, Gradey Dick has the highest ceiling as an individual shot maker. Better than Scotty, RJ, IQ.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that.
Even more than IQ.
As an individual shot maker, what if they put a big body on IQ? What's he gonna do? Like, what's a shot?
ideally,
He's
he
just
could
gonna
spy him,
he's just
but
gonna
yeah.
chuck it from deep, right?
Yeah.
Grady, he's got a nice mix of moves. He's got the size, and I think the degree of the shots that are like high degree of difficulty. He has a higher chance of making those than any of those.
Especially that mid-range, man. Like this year, that mid-range is working for him almost better than I didn't expect that at all.
He's learning how to work the pick and roll. He knows how to snake it a little bit. Like he can rise. And again, to your point, like smaller defenders if he's tall, he's 6'8", he's gonna get that shot
even-
up. High shot release too. Like
Even
it's nice.
off ball, when they have him running
Yeah.
off of screens,
Yeah.
doing that like Reggie Miller Pacers 90 offense, he's really good at that and will run you into the ground.
Gravity, man. He's got gravity, which is something the Raptors haven't had in a long time. Like I don't count Gary Trent Jr. as gravity at all.
You know what?
Does not
I was
count.
just gonna say it's too bad Grady's not playing behind Gary Trent right now. He's really lighting it up on the Bucks.
Yeah, man.
So,
3 and D. 3 and D.
3, maybe. Maybe
Maybe
2.5.
3 and no D. Yeah.
So with the loss yesterday, Raps are dead last in odds to win the NBA Cup, and despite the fact that they're honestly,
Why'd you say it like that?
I had dreams of them winning it,
yes,
man.
we were
I
talking
honestly,
about
I really did. I really had dreams of them
when we
making
were
it.
having our pre-pod meeting, it's like if they beat the Bucks, like, the group's kind of easy.
There's a
But
chance.
I'm just gonna say this. And I went on a similar rant last year. I'm pretty sure we did a pod after that wonderful game that Fab hates of Hawks Pacers, where every single overhit, it was like an all-star game.
The best.
I love the NBA Cup. It is so much fun. When have you ever had this much fun on a Tuesday watching random games? There's an energy and an excitement. I still think the courts look dumb.
I was gonna say the courts.
Nah, the courts look stupid.
Some of them are okay. Some of them are okay.
good. Some of them are
There's
really
like a
rough.
little bit of an intensity, and like I don't know when. It looked like I was going to hit a parlay last night where I thought I had the math figured out of like teams are going to hammer the point differential. Let's go hard at point differential. I don't know. The NBA Cup is so much fun. We saw it with that Warriors Mavs game had the intensity of like maybe just because it was Clay's return and not the NBA Cup, but it was the perfect storm of an amazing game, and what a fun, maybe the most fun, most fun game of the NBA season.
Game of the year for sure.
Game of the year.
Yeah, game of the year easy.
Barely
Yeah, lived
contain
up
your
to
excitement.
all the
I'm excited, man.
Barely contain himself.
There was extra juice in that game because of Clay, and the way Curry finished that game off was he was trying to make a point. Let's be honest, he was really jacked up. Draymond was dialed in all game. Like these guys really wanted that game, and Curry made a point of rubbing Clay's nose in it at the end of the game.
Not to be a prisoner of the moment, but that's exactly what I'm gonna be. And if we're adding the betting element to it,
This guy's unhinged, man.
I am, because I love the NBA Cup. It's just so much fun. But here's the thing. We saw it in the Olympics. And let me take you back. 2008, a young Steph Curry at Davidson almost beat a Kansas team with 7 NBA players to get to the Final Four. Steph Curry is a tournament player. And in a one-off, when that guy... The ability for him to just go off and win you a single game, I love it, and that's why I'm going to sprinkle on the Warriors to win the NBA Cup at 10-1. I like them to win the group. The thing I like the most and what I'll probably bet the biggest will be to reach the semis at just over 2-1, because. And apologies to my Lord and Savior Josh Allen, but when Steph Curry is going, that is the most exciting athlete in all of sports. Tell me I'm wrong.
There's a lot to unpack here.
You had seven picks.
So first of all,
That's how much I love the NBA Cup. Just get it. It's just a.
first of all, where was your belief in the Warriors before last night? Your odds have probably been cut in half.
Yes.
But hey, good on you. They're still there.
I didn't
agree,
say
though.
it was smart. I just said it.
We also did Curry not play in the NBA Cup last year?
Did.
Yeah,
So what did they do
that
then?
was a different Warriors team. That was a different Warriors team.
Understood.
Yeah, no. Let me ask you this: is there a more exciting player down the stretch to have the ball
Dude,
than Curry? Is there anyone else you would rather watch?
All of sports, when he's going, who's better to watch when he's going in all of sports?
It's hard to name anyone in the NBA.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it in the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's the
that
most
fourth
exciting.
quarter.
Yeah.
It's by far the most exciting.
When he started going in the Olympics, that completely turned around the fate of that American team.
So, I just think that, okay, so I appreciate your enthusiasm for the Warriors.
Do you?
I do. It's unfounded, but I respect it. The group's a gauntlet. The West is a gauntlet.
Yep.
I would not advise putting any money on any team in the West. Take a look at those groups. Put them up. It's just very hard to fathom. Now, obviously, they got a big game against Dallas. Good for them. But it just doesn't get easier at all. So my preference would be to take someone from the
They
East.
play the Nuggets too,
So-
right?
They play
Yeah,
the Nugs. My preference would be to go East if you want to put your money down, personally.
But one thing, especially last night, I think Kerr played 11 guys last night. They have a lot of flexibility to
doing that all
change
year.
their. I know, but they have a lot of flexibility to change their lineup to suit who they're up against. So in a one-off like this, I would value that flexibility and the strength of their roster.
I respect the bet. I respect.
What
the
are they right now? 9-2, 10-2.
Okay, well, NBA Cup aside, what do you think about the Warriors here? Or should we be taking them seriously as contenders?
So offline, you flagged Draymond Green Defensive Player of the Year at 29-1. think that's
as the anti-Wemby.
As the anti-Wemby.
We are all very
I do
heavy
think
Wemby.
Wemby's going to win
Yeah.
it, but if you're looking for that counter bet,
and we'll get to Chet, getting hurt and all the injuries in the NBA. Like that was obviously he was probably the second favorite at one point. They sustained that throughout the year. Draymond and what he's doing for this Warriors defense and the ability to play 11, 12 guys, the aggressiveness.
He had that twinkle in his eye last night. He was.
If he can manage not to get suspended this year, which is I think what plagued them last year. In
the
terms
defense
of
is there.
That's
defense
really
is
the
there.
difference. Look, if you're talking about defense, is why things are better for them this year versus last year with Clay. Kind of addition by subtraction. You're getting now a lot of fresher bodies, more able bodies on the defensive end who can really get up there and get in the grill of their opponents and leave the offensive burden on Curry and whoever else. Buddy Hield, even as you talk about slotting in guys.
He wasn't even playing last night. Melton closed it out.
Well, you need Buddy Hield to be on the offensive end doing his thing, and then when they need to clamp, they got Anthony Melton.
Yeah.
They got Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, majorly effective
They're
guys
more
on the wing.
versatile.
Very
Even
versatile. dude.
just look at the
Kyle
last
Anderson.
possession. Wiggins with Luka closed out perfectly on it. That was
Hey man, Andrew Wiggins has a track record of that at a championship level, right?
yeah.
So it's
Friend of
not-
the pod.
yes.
It's not like
Friend
we
of the
haven't seen
pod,
it.
Andrew Wiggins.
We need time to kind of see how this season unfolds. Obviously, too, the health of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
I think when we get to the dog days of the season in February, March.
It's like one of those two things, right? Like this is probably good. Like playing 11, 12 guys is probably good to sustain the health of Steph Curry. It's kind of what Cleveland's doing right now with just playing all these guys around 30 minutes a game, under 30. It's good to get through the regular season, which is a slog, putting as many bodies out there as possible. Come playoff time, that number is going to shrink. Rotations shrink.
Yeah.
If you can get Steph healthy come playoff time, I think anything's possible.
Also, too, if you're say I don't know what 30 and 15 around the deadline, how are you not?
Adding,
Yeah, that's a team that's shown
they
they
have
don't
the
really care.
contracts. They got the picks. They have all their own picks.
That's the
for most
thing.
part.
They
You can
could
do
really
something.
splash and make a move, and that's a team that's not afraid of luxury tax stuff. They've proven that.
Well, look, you name dropped them, so I'm going to segue right into it. I like Cleveland as a bet for NBA Cup related stuff. So
Full transparency, we have a
look,
big group bet
we have a
amongst
big
the four
group
of
bet
us
for the whole thing, but I'm talking about just the group play. They were plus 220 before Boston gave up that game to Atlanta. And so now they sit as a favorite, but they're only plus 160. So why I like this situation for them is they can still lose to Boston and by point differential still win the group. So they now have that as a 3-1 kind of safety net. If Boston won this game, they lose to Boston, Boston could have won 4-0, and then the group would have been out of hand. Yeah. But now that they have this one little extra out where they can get away with point differential as the differentiator for the 1 seed in this group, plus 160 for the most steamy team that's in the league right now, I would chase that down.
I'm honestly going to bet that before we post this because I'm pretty sure Wes moves lines. So Connor, before you post this, make sure you checked in that we've all made our Cleveland to win the group bet.
selfish.
I have one to
Hey
add.
man, look at the sign. We're trying to take their money.
I kind of agree with Hambone that it's hard to gauge the groups at this point and what's value and what's not. Although I would look at the group involving Minnesota, who lost to Portland yesterday. So if you're looking at the other teams in the group, Sacramento, Clippers, and Houston, they're all long odds. So if one of those teams takes the group,
Maybe sprinkle
they're
Clips
all
in Houston.
20-1, 30-1 to win the cup. One of those teams could very well be in the quarterfinals, right? So that's what I would look at, just like a little dart throw on a team that could capitalize on mini slip up.
Yeah.
I like that.
I just want to avoid the West, though. I feel like the West just a gauntlet, really evenly matched, scrappy teams.
Yeah.
If you want to pick on some fish, go East. Take a look at the standings.
Yeah.
It's 2 teams, and then it's a bunch.
Well,
of people
was
just
there only
floundering.
Cleveland and Boston are the only 2 teams above 500, or at least going into yesterday were the only 2 teams
Yeah.
above
Yeah,
500.
it's-
Yeah. Find your opportunities out East.
Yeah.
I will hop
Yeah.
on with you on Cleveland.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah, if you take a look at last year, there's 4 teams, 4 group winners that went undefeated. I think this year you're going to have more 3-1 group stage winners. Yeah. So to Fab's point, if you can find a group where the favorite has now lost or given up a game, and there's a team that you like in their group that could be a little bit frisky at a good number, I think this is the time you maybe look at FanDuel's markets. You don't necessarily go all the way to win NBA Cup, but they have odds. Make quarters, make semis, make so.
I love the make semis market. That's
Dude, that's perfect,
yeah.
right?
It's very soccer
so
of
you
you.
flag-
Yes, yeah, it is very soccer.
Very soccer bet.
You flagged New York before. I thought that was a great flag
Yes.
to win the group. I think that's a great team to go to the semis.
Yeah.
That's a team that you can kind of, you know what, they've had a pretty rickety start, but Tom Thibodeau's going to play his
Yeah,
guys 40
but I
minutes
mean,
a
I will
game.
say that I am worried about them winning it the whole way. They're the favorites right now. I don't think they deserve to be
No.
favorites
Well,
based off of how they're playing. It's just their path
the
is
path
crystal
is
clear
so
right
easy.
now. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I
get
kind
it.
of gravitate towards these teams that need to establish some credibility.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Oklahoma City, New York. None of these players have won anything, right?
Yeah.
So why not push for this tournament?
Yeah.
I know whatever people want to make fun of it. It's the NBA Cup. I think it's an additive tournament. I think it's fun. And you win something, right? It gives you that credit, a bit of credibility that you can get.
In 25 years, when people are comparing Jordan's resume to LeBron and
where
to
you're
Curry,
going with this
they're going to
already.
see, hey, how many NBA Cups? Like,
MJ never won an NBA Cup.
and you know,
Never.
How
when
how
Steph
can he be
wins-
the best of all time?
when Steph wins the domestic double this year, he's the first guy to win the domestic double.
Yeah,
So like, I, honestly, man, like I think I've said enough about my enthusiasm
think
for
so.
this tournament.
You've said a lot.
So let's just go to the low light of the NBA Cup yesterday, and let's just bring the video up here, Connor.
Now Cunningham, nobody's guarding him. In it comes, Duran dunks it! Oh my! Unbelievable! In 7/10 of a second, they tie the game at 121. The Pistons are walking off the court.
Oh,
Who
no.
called timeout?
Oh, no. The referee is saying that Coach Spo has called a timeout, and that's a technical foul as the Heat are out of timeouts.
Oh boy.
Oh, boy is right.
This was the end of Heat and Pistons, and honestly, we've played in Rec League at Hoop Dome. We as a team have not had 6 players on the court for a possession. How does this happen in an NBA game?
We've also not called a timeout when we didn't have any timeouts.
Yes.
And if we did, the ref would be like, "You don't have any timeouts."
Most probably done that.
Yeah. yeah, probably.
But seriously, how does this was chaos. How does this happen?
I think the greats make mistakes. And I think Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. And I think he made a mistake and he owned it post game. You guys were chirping me for what happened to Heat Culture. Heat Culture is dead. I think this is the rebirth of Heat Culture version 2. lot of calls
Let's
to Jimmy.
get back
He's
to
old.
what's really important here. He called the timeout,
Yeah.
lost him the game. Jalen Rose was in the building.
yes.
Okay, Jalen Rose. This is like a Chris Webber moment
Yeah, it
in
is.
Detroit
Jalen's
with
face.
Jalen watching. Like,
Yeah.
this is just as poetic as it gets, man.
Last week we talked about Vince being the new best GIF. Has Jalen already passed him as the best GIF of the
Every week.
season?
I mean, the
Every
gifts
week we
just
get
keep
one.
coming, man. What about Curry?
Yeah,
Curry from last night yelling into the camera.
I know, looking right into the camera.
These guys
I
are
thought that was-
gift machines.
I thought that was corny, but
No, come on,
little
dude. He
corny.
was fired up, man. Like that was, you could tell that was real emotion.
Act like you've been there.
stared at the camera a little too long for me.
He was
Yeah, that's a definite stare to the camera too long. That's a nice inside joke.
Yes.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot.
I the camera. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
All right. I think that's
Wait, that's
clear.
it?
I think
No,
it's
no
clear.
one has anything? Like Heat called it? I'm saying buy the dip on the Heat. This is the moment they needed to turn their season around, and I believe.
Yeah, but here's the problem. They don't have any players, man. They got no dudes.
They got guys.
No, they don't.
They don't have guys. I think they're pretty
They
deep.
don't deserve to be talked about
Yeah,
this
in a
much at this
superstar
point.
league, they don't
Yeah.
got a superstar
Yeah.
to carry that.
Jimmy's getting a little older. It's sad
Yeah.
to see.
Oh, so that was a quick turn. Like
It's sad, but I will believe. Man, no one believes in the Heat. I will
Well,
remain believing.
okay, here's your only belief with the Heat, and that's Giannis. And bring up the Giannis trade odds right now because the Heat are the favorite with the Nets behind them. So yeah, if they're getting Giannis, sure, go for it. But like, I feel like the Bucks aren't at that tanking stage of selling off
They're not
Giannis and
gonna
Lillard.
do
Just
it.
yeah, I don't think so either.
They're not going to do it.
I don't think they're
I
gonna
mean, the Heat are like rumored to be in like every like big trade
Heat
pieces
culture.
available. Yes, the Heat are just like up there. Do they even have the assets? I don't know. I don't believe it. And I don't actually think it's like that great of a fit with Bam personally. Like,
Well, Bam would be in that deal.
Well, that's the thing. So if he is, then just walk away. In my opinion, like I just don't. Bam is so crucial come playoff time, but. I don't get the Nets either. Like I know Bill Simmons was big on his pod.
I
about
didn't
the
get
Nets
that.
stuff. Like,
Wacky take.
Yeah.
it's a little out there. I mean, I respect the swing,
So-
but man,
And I'm just gonna throw this out there. We talked about the Warriors potentially throwing a bunch at getting someone. If the Warriors added Giannis, they're the title favorite. Now I don't think that's gonna happen, but like that is who should be talked about when
Kuminga's
we're
a
talking
piece.
about.
I think Kuminga's a big piece
Kuminga and
that
picks.
could entice the Bucks.
They have the
100%.
salaries for it too, right?
I could see it.
Push comes to shove, I don't think the Bucks will trade him.
I don't think anything.
I just don't like to trade him mid-season. I think they're gonna try. Like, listen, the East is pretty bad.
bad.
So they could go on a bit of a run and get to the 3 or 4 spot pretty
Yeah.
quickly if they improve their play. So the idea of him being traded this quickly, I don't I really don't see it.
Things would have to get a lot
Yeah.
worse
Yeah.
for
It's
Milwaukee.
But
It's
your
still
point,
early.
the East is so bad that
Yeah.
you're not out of it, right?
Yeah,
Like if you're in the West, then that's a bigger problem.
It's so early.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so early, man.
Look, people escalation commitment. They're pot committed. They're just gonna go. They're just gonna let the
Go down with the ship.
Yeah.
yeah, you have to.
All right. Well, the biggest story so far in this young season is got to be injuries because let's bring up the graphic here of all of these massive names out for a significant amount of time. And let's start with Wes. Wes, which of these is the biggest injury to you?
biggest injury. I don't know, but I really hate the Chet injury.
Yeah.
We all do, as everybody
Yeah,
who's
I just
wagered
don't
on.
like it because OKC. I mean, look, we're all Shea fans, all right? This is a Canadian pod, so we all want to see him succeed. Chet is literally the one piece that cannot go down in that ship. Even Shea himself going down, I think they have so many wings they can kind of survive.
Mm-hmm.
Chet is the one piece that can't go down for them. You just saw the other game against the Clippers. They started a starting lineup with nobody taller than 6'6".
Yeah.
Jalen Williams at center.
Okay,
Not even the big one.
Not even the big one, all right? Shout out, okay? Jay Will. But, that one's going to sting. That one's going to sting because he was looking really good. He was, chasing Wembanyama for DPOY. He was creeping up MIP, pushing OKC to, a 60-win threshold. I think that all comes back down to earth now. And that really sucks because I was getting really excited for
They need Hartenstein back real fast.
That's huge.
So I got a counterpoint to that. Wouldn't that not now put more burden on Shea, which is what he did, by the way. Scored a season high in points, stocks out of control,
Career high.
So does he now if you have money on Shea to win MVP?
Oh, yeah.
He's
Well, the
gonna have to
narrative's in his
shoulder.
favor now.
No, so that's great.
I think as long as you think that they can still get the 1 seed, which I think all of us think they still can get the 1 seed, even with Chet out.
It's kind of a similar thing to Jokic now, right? Where it's just a lot more burden's going to fall on his shoulders. Is he going to have to deliver 35 plus 40-point nights consistently
In the clutch, especially.
in the clutch,
especially.
Yeah,
well,
well,
if you're gonna match Jokic is
He's doing the same
on a
thing.
level that I don't know even where to put him
It's
anymore.
a career year.
Yeah.
Where is this guy's is he
Chamberlain
top
style.
10 of all time? I mean, he's Wilt Chamberlain mixed with freaking John Stockton. His numbers, what?
Yeah.
Can't put him top 10 all time with one.
needs-
title.
I'm just saying he's close. He's knocking on the door.
another title.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's not what I'm trying to get into. The injury thing is that the good thing is I don't think any of these injuries have determined the outcome of the season. I think a lot of these guys will be back. I don't think the Thunder.
The Pelicans might be done.
Pelicans-
The Pelicans
but they
are
were never
the Pelicans are a
factored.
joke.
They weren't a factor
They
in
do
anything.
not
No,
ever
no.
go. The Pelicans go away. You suck. Okay, this is every year with this team. Zion can't stay healthy. Ingram can't stay healthy. Go away. You're garbage.
But they were potentially on a level to be.
Every year with this team, their win total's 44.5. You never know whether they're coming or going. You can never take them seriously.
What did they do to you, man?
They show up. They show up and look amazing one night. Then they're terrible.
You know who they could
I'm
use
sick
right
of the
now?
Pelicans,
Dyson
man.
Daniels.
Yeah.
Make it
Right.
some Dyson Daniels stock.
What
Yeah,
What
for
a
sure.
frustrating team they are. Though.
Dude, I feel
This-
I
that's
don't
just-
feel even a little bad for the Pelicans.
Yeah,
If they're healthy, they could have been
This
a 5
isn't
or
a
6
one-off.
seed.
This isn't a one-off.
Jose
This is
Alvarado
every
just
season
went
with this
down
team,
too.
man.
This amount of injuries is worse than
insane.
any other team in the NBA.
Zion is. I mean, is he cooked at this point? He's looking like it.
Honestly, let's just go back to the first 3 quarters and 8 minutes of the fourth of that play-in game, where it's we saw I don't know, dude, but we really saw everything that was possible with Zion.
That's
He's
the
going
ceiling.
head-to-head with LeBron, but that game was Zion in a microcosm.
That was
because
a ceiling
then,
moment.
Yeah, and then they lose the
I
game.
don't
He
know,
gets
man.
hurt, and it's just frustrating because we see. I mentioned before that Curry's the most exciting guy in the NBA when he's going. Zion is so fun, and when Point Zion is really just going at you with a full head of steam, it's so great to watch, and it just sucks that we don't get to watch that.
Yeah, they're the Memphis Grizzlies of this season. Everyone's just going down for them, and all expectations are going to be probably thrown out the door. They 46.5?
Yeah.
For whatever the number was. They're probably going to be a 20-something win team this year.
Yeah.
Given the injury.
So speaking of injuries, let's close it out on this. We saw a return last night, reminiscent of you often give for this when I came back from Italy and we had a bricklayers game, and the condition that I was in after 2 weeks of feasting on pasta and pizza.
Oh, man.
And that is what Joel Embiid looked like in his return last night against the Knicks.
You couldn't get up and down the floor.
And neither could Embiid. So maybe I just have MVP genes.
What was Embiid doing? MVP genes.
He looked rough. He looked rough.
It looked bad, man.
All right, man. I'm not I don't want to join the chorus of people who chirp Embiid for.
But that's exactly what you're gonna
But
do.
it's what I'm doing right now. man, you ever go to you ever go swimming? Like, go swim. Like, get your cardio up, man. Like, punch a bag for like an hour. Get on a bike. Get on a Peloton. Like, my girl Pelotons like every day. Like, what? You can't do that. You can't keep your fitness up to the point where you're like pulling yourself off 4 minutes into an NBA game. And I get it, man. Best athletes in the world. But like, this has been the criticism of you forever.
His entire career.
And it's like, you don't meet the moment. Like, all eyes are on you in this game. Like, all eyes are on you. Like, I don't know, man. It's just very frustrating.
The second part of it, it's like there's an attitude thing and a body language thing I don't like.
Yeah.
Like, you know how I'm gonna capitalize on that? Whatever number they give him for rebounding, take the under every single game until they drop it to a number where it's like, okay, that's like really uncalled for. This guy ain't doing any hustling out there whatsoever. The laziest MVP I've seen in the last 10 years. Like, what is this guy doing out there in a game like that mattered, right?
He was standing in the corner and running dribble handoffs.
Karl Anthony Towns allowing opponents to shoot 92% in the restricted area. This guy couldn't even get a field goal up for the first half of the game. He had to get all of his points at the line.
Everything was at the line, yeah.
And then the one bucket he hit was a three-pointer because he wasn't willing to get into physical situations. Like, just take the under on his rebounding. At least you can make some money off of this guy's poor play.
The number of times Fab called him a grifter in our group chat last night, just like...
Yeah.
That is Joel.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know,
Anything
man.
else?
I don't know, man. I'm just... You have nothing to say about it? You hate Embiid. Like, you got nothing to say on this?
What are we going to say? He's coming back from injury. We'll see what Philly looks like.
Imagine being a Philly fan.
That's a tough time.
And just, like, witnessing this guy, like, every time he takes a tumble to the ground... Like, I'm just like
5 times a game.
Like, I'm just like, I'm a fan of Embiid. I like Embiid. It all started to turn after he chose to play for the United States in the Olympics, and now it's just like, how do you look like this?
Yeah, I don't know. He's sketchy. This whole injury situation's sketchy for him. I never know whether he's coming or going. Whether it's his knee, whether it's conditioning. It's always something with him. Yeah. That's a microcosm of his career. It's been like this for 10 years.
The saddest part for Philly fans, their favorite player is also injured, Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
So that's the guy I think deserves a lot more praise here. So
I think
unfortunate for him.
I think Fab's lack of a reaction says everything.
I'm shocked too.
Fab is so
surprised.
just beaten down by having to bash Embiid that he's a defeated man right now.
I don't even know. There's nothing else to say.
And if there's nothing else to say on it, that's where we'll leave it. Remember, hit us up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.